Level 1. The conscript. The recruiter didn't ask if you wanted to join. He came to your village with 2 soldiers and a ledger. He looked at your hands, calloused, wide, good, and made a mark beside your name. Your mother didn't cry until after he left. Now you're standing in a training yard in the cold, wearing a helmet that belongs to someone who died in it. Your sergeant doesn't call you by your name. He calls you body. You run drills until your legs stop working. Then you run more. You learn the Noxian fighting style, nothing like the ceremonial forms the Dalmatian knights drill into themselves. No oaths, no silver pageantry. Just angles and leverage and making the other person hit the ground first. At night you lie on a wooden bunk and the boy next to you says he heard they're sending the next cohort to Ionia, that the Empire has unfinished business there. You stare at the ceiling and decide not to think about it. This is what they're testing. Not your arms, not your endurance, your will. Level 2, the Legionary. 40 men started with you. 23 finished. Noxus doesn't mourn. It calculates. You are a Legionary of the Trifarian Legion now. Real armor. A crest that makes villagers' faces go careful when they see it coming. You've marched through the Shuriman heat and the Freljordian cold, and last season, you crossed the water to Ionia, where the air itself pushes back. A man in your cohort walked into a grove of cedar trees and came out the other side shaking, saying the trees had moved. The forest there remember the first invasion. They remember the withdrawal. They remember everything. You've killed men. You set the weight down during the day. It climbs back up at night. The veterans in your unit don't have that weight in their eyes anymore. You're still deciding whether that's something to chase or something to fear. Level 3. The Reckoner. The invitation came after you held a bridge with 6 men for 4 hours against a Dalmatian scouting force. Disciplined soldiers who fight like they're performing a ceremony and mean every word of it. When the reinforcements arrived, you were still standing. The commander handed you a black iron disc. You've been noticed. The Reckoning Pit is how Noxus settles questions of worth. Not bloodline, not ceremony. The way Dalmatia crowns its warriors. Here, a farmer's son can beat a general's heir, and the hierarchy reorganizes itself around the result. You fight 7 times over 2 years. You win 5. The loss cost you a rib and 3 months in a surgeon's tent. But you stood back up, and in Noxus, that's the whole answer. Level 4. The Decanus. 10 men. Your first command. In a mountain pass in winter with supply lines cut and a Freljordian warband somewhere in the white above you, 10 is everything. 10 is your entire world. Your squad is a cross-section of the Empire. A Zaunite volunteer fighting for citizenship papers that will let his family breathe clean air. A veteran with a scar from the first Ionian campaign he never explains. A conscript whose hands shake before battle and become terrifyingly steady during it. You learn that leadership is mostly hunger management. Hungry soldiers make bad decisions. Scared soldiers make worse ones. You lose one of them in the pass. 22 years old. You write his name in your ledger. The Empire sends his family a notification of valor. You write a second note, unofficial, personal, with your own money. The Empire would call that a weakness. You call it the only thing that lets you look your remaining 9 in the eye. Level 5. The Prefect. You run a city now. 20,000 people, a garrison, a magistrate who hates you, and a black market and Piltovan hex components you've decided not to shut down because it does more economic good than harm. There are still shrines here to Dalmatian war saints, tucked into alleys. You've known about them for a year. You've decided not to look. A prefect who burns shrines makes martyrs. A prefect who ignores them makes history. A letter from Noxus Prime. Iron output up 15%. No extra resources. No explanation. But you know why? The Dalmatian border has been tense since the skirmish near Gullio's watch, and the Empire is quietly rearming and will not say so in writing. You find the inefficiency in the transport routes, build a road, hit the number. No response from Noxus Prime. Success is expected. Only failure generates correspondence. Level 6. The Legate. 4,000 soldiers. Your legion. The campaign is on the Ionian coast, a city Noxus doesn't claim but needs. High Command's previous approach was raids. The Ionians absorbed everyone. You propose something different, a trade compact instead of a conquest. You've studied how Swain operated before his greatest campaigns, the diplomatic groundwork that made his military advances look inevitable. You're not Swain, Nobody is swaying, but you understand the principle. 3 months later, the city's merchant council is flying a Noxian trade flag alongside their own. Nobody died. You file the report. You don't frame it as clever. You frame it as efficient. Noxus understands efficient. Level 7, the Imperator. The map on the table shows everything. Demacia to the west, Freljord to the north, Shurima to the south, Ionia across the water. You command across all of it now. Multiple legions, multiple theaters. You receive an audience with the Treferics. The might is everything you expected. Vast, certain, carrying the empire in his shoulders like it was built there. The vision is different, older. His eyes are wrong, not damaged, but reading something you can't see, turning over probabilities like coins. People say he died once and came back changed. You believe them. Afterward, 3 dispatches are waiting. A Freljordian winter has closed the northern passes. A Demacian patrol crossed the border near Vindor. Accident or provocation, unclear. And Black Rose agents operating in territory you were told was clean. The Black Rose, of course, the shadow that predates the Empire that some say LeBlanc herself still steers, wearing different faces across different centuries, always present in the architecture of Noxian power like a crack in a very old wall. You cannot confront something you cannot officially acknowledge. You move certain assets. You leave certain doors open. You trust your instincts. You go inside. You pick up the dispatches. You begin. Level 8, the High Command. You haven't held a sword in 11 years. You are the sword. All of them. Every blade and every hand across every front passes through the decisions made in rooms like this. The Treferic summons you quarterly. You've learned to read the room before anyone speaks. The way the might holds his jaw when a campaign is deteriorating, the way the vision goes very still when something surprises him, which happens rarely and is the most frightening thing you've witnessed in 30 years. The Guile's seat is sometimes occupied by someone you recognize, and sometimes by someone you've never seen, and you know better than to ask. There's a young legate rising fast in the Western Territories. Brilliant. Brutal. Exactly how you were at 28, including the mistakes. You file a favorable assessment and recommend a Freljordian posting. Let the cold teach him what the South didn't. Level 9, the Treferics. There are 3 of you. That is the Noxian answer to tyranny, not divine bloodline, not the way Demacia consecrates its kings. 3. Vision, might, guile. Demacia is building something. New walls, new officers, quietly swelling after the last border tension. The Freljord refuses to consolidate, as it always has. Shurima is reawakening, something ancient stirring in the sand that predates every empire that thought itself permanent. And Ionia, always Ionia, the wound that never fully closed. A new report arrives. Void incursion activity near the northern border. You look at the map. You consider reaching out to Demacia about joint defense. Diplomatically extraordinary, strategically sound, politically explosive. You make a decision, you don't explain it. Outside these walls, conscripts are crying on wooden bunks tonight. Reckoners are bleeding in pits and standing back up. Legionaries are marching through Ionian forests that remember things. All of it flowing upward through channels that lead eventually here. Your predecessor warned you about this, the dissolution, he called it, the slow replacement of the self with the role. You thought he was being dramatic. A new dispatch arrives. The Empire does not stop. Neither do you.